Ciao a tutti, benvenuti al Facile come Italiano. Hello everybody, welcome to Easy as Italian. I'm Reza and today we want to talk about the conditionals in Italian language. Well, it's been some time we wanted to talk about that, but well, every day there was something new coming up, so it got a little late, but here we are finally talking about the conditionals in Italian language. So let's start right away. Well, conditionals in Italian language have two forms. Okay, we have the present and the past conditional. Now, today we want to talk about the present conditional. That is very simple and very similar to futuro semplice, one of the indicative tenses. Okay, so you may ask, what is the connection between futuro semplice and present conditional? Nothing. They don't have any connection, just their structure is similar. Just to make it easier for us. Now let's start the session, and by the end of that you'll understand how easy can a tense be. So I want to start with an old-fashioned sentence that says we have three forms of verbs in Italian language: the verbs that end with ere, the verbs that end with ire, and the verbs that end with are. So how do we bring the verbs that end with ere to conditionals? No worries. For example, we have leggere, to read. Leggere, to read. I want to ask you a question. How did we used to bring leggere to futuro semplice? Well, if you're a good student, you would just answer, okay, we would take e from the end of it, leggere, and then we would add the conjugation of futuro semplice, the conjugation pattern of futuro semplice. So it would be complete. Now for conditional, we do the same. We take e, leggere, and then we add the conjugation pattern of present conditional. And what is the pattern for that? It's this. It's pretty rhythmic and pretty beautiful. E esti ebbe, emmo este ebbero. E esti ebbe, emmo este ebbero. So we have leggere, and we put the conjugation pattern in front of that. So leggerei, leggeresti, leggerebbe, leggeremmo, leggereste, leggerebbero. As easy as that. Let's work with another verb too. Let's get it clear. We have, for example, mettere, okay, to put. Mettere, we put it, we take e, metter, and then we put the conjugation pattern. That is just that. So, metterei, metteresti, metterebbe, metteremmo, mettereste, metterebbero. Okay? Let's go for the verbs that end with ire. We have, for example, sentire, to hear or to feel. We've talked about it. Sentire. How did we used to bring sentire to futuro semplice? Again, we used to take e, sentir, and then put the conjugation pattern of futuro semplice. Now we do the same here too. We take e, sentir, and then we put the conjugation pattern of present conditional. So we have sentirei, sentiresti, sentirebbe, sentiremmo, sentireste, sentirebbero. Sentirebbero. Okay? Or we have, for example, offrire, to offer. We take the e, offrir, and then we put the conjugation pattern offrirei, offriresti, offrirebbe, offriremmo, offrireste, offrirebbero. What about the verbs that end with are? Well, I would again ask you a question. We have, for example, trovare. How do you bring it to futuro semplice? You remember, it was a little different from the verbs that ended with ire or ere, right? For futuro semplice, and the verbs that used to end with are, we used to take are and then put instead of that, and then put the conjugation pattern. Okay, so we have trover, and then we put the conjugation pattern. In conditional, it's just the same. Trover, and then the conjugation pattern. Troverei, troveresti, troverebbe, troveremmo, trovereste, troverebbero. Okay? It's solved. Another verb, for example, pensare, to think, are, take it, put, penserei, penseresti, penseremmo, penserei, penseresti, penserebbe, penseremmo, pensereste, penserebbero. Okay? It's done. Now, what about the meanings? Well, it's just like the conditional in English. So, when we have something like si sentirebbe meglio, in English, it would be just the same. I mean, we don't have to change anything. He or she would feel better. Just that. Si sentirebbe meglio. He or she would feel better. Simple. Or I can say, ti offrirei il prezzo migliore. Ti offrirei il prezzo migliore. I would offer you the best price. I would offer you the best price. Okay? Easy. Let me say another thing. Costruiresti. Okay? Costruiresti un centro commerciale. You would build a shopping mall. Okay? A central shop, something like that. So, costruirei un centro commerciale. Easy. I mean, yeah, doesn't have so much to talk about. But we still have the irregular verbs, right? So it's not a good time to finish the session. Let's talk about irregular verbs. Now, for the irregular verbs, before we start, remember to tap the like button, and also if you're not subscribed, tap the subscribe button too, so you can enjoy the next contents to come. Just an offer, you lose the best yourself. So now we have the irregular verbs. You know, what do I mean? You know what verbs I'm thinking right now exactly. Avere, essere. You've met them before. These old friends. Avere, essere. The most irregular verbs ever in any tense. So again, the conjugation for the irregular verbs is just like the futuro semplice. Okay? And also, all the verbs that were irregular in futuro semplice, now they are irregular too. Okay? So again, just making your way and your work easier. So we have avere. In futuro semplice, we used to say avr and then put the conjugation pattern. Here we do the same. We say avr, put the conjugation pattern, avrei, avresti, avrebbe, avremmo, avreste, avrebbero. Okay? For essere, we used to say sar and then put the conjugation pattern. We do the same here. We put sar and then we put the conjugation pattern. Sarei, saresti, sarebbe, saremmo, sareste, sarebbero. We used to say that all the four modal verbs in futuro semplice were irregular. Okay? What were the modal verbs? Potere, sapere, dovere, and the last one, volere. Great job. So, we have these verbs. They are irregular in present conditional too again. So, for potere, we used to say, in futuro semplice, for potere, we used to say, we say potre, and then we put the conjugation pattern. In conditional, it's the same. Potrei, potresti, potrebbe, potremmo, potreste, potrebbero. For sapere, in futuro semplice, we used to say sapr, and then put the conjugation pattern. In conditional, it's the same. Saprei, sapresti, saprebbe, sapremmo, sapreste, saprebbero. For dovere, in futuro semplice, we used to say dovr, and then conjugation pattern. Here, in conditional, we don't do the same. No, just kidding. We do the same. Dovre, and then we put the conjugation pattern. Dovre, dovresti, dovrebbe, dovremmo, dovreste, dovrebbero. I said it's just like, present conditional is a copy of futuro semplice's homeworks. Just we have changed the endings so the teacher wouldn't doubt, okay, that we have copied. It's exactly that if you think about it. Now, let's go for the next one, volere. Let's finish it. In futuro semplice, we used to say, well, volere would be very hard to pronounce. L, R together. So we say vor with doppio R, okay? So vor, and then put the conjugation pattern, vorrei, vorresti, vorrebbe, vorremmo, vorreste, vorrebbero. We had a verb that had the same structure as volere. If you remember that, venire, to come, right? So, ver, it was. Now here, it's the same. Ver, verrei, verresti, verrebbe, verremmo, verreste, verrebbero. Finished. Let me talk about one more irregular verb, andare, to go. It's useful. Andare would be andre, just like in futuro semplice, and then we put the conjugation pattern. Andre, andresti, andrebbe, andremmo, andreste, andrebbero. Okay. This session is finished. I hope it has been useful for you. Remember to do those things that I told you. It will be the best for yourself. I will see you in the next couple of days. Have fun.